Hello everyone, it is Heather and I have kind of a special bonus video for you today. In this video, I'm going to review our travels from 2024 and talk to you just a little bit about what we're planning or looking forward to in our travels in 2025 in the year ahead. Okay, first of all, I want to share with you a few things that are kind of my continual every year travel goals, things that I would like to achieve on a yearly basis that I get kind of disappointed if we don't get to do all of these things. One thing that's very important to me to do every year is to get to the ocean and preferably to take a cruise and actually be out at sea. And in discussing it, we had a couple of years where we took multiple cruises. We kind of feel that 2 cruises a year is about comfortable for us. Now, I'm never going to object to taking more than 2 cruises a year, but if we only take 1 cruise a year, we tend to feel kind of disappointed. And if we have a year where we don't get to take a cruise at all, those years really bum us out. And if I don't get to the ocean at all, being in Wisconsin, in the upper Midwest, a long way from the ocean, I really start to feel distressed in my soul. I don't know, I just really need to get near the ocean and near the water. Another thing that we really like to be able to do every year is something Disney. So we're big Disney fans. We like to go to either Disneyland or Walt Disney World. There's been a couple years that we've done both, and or a Disney cruise. Now, in addition to that, we are hoping in the future to get to some of the international Disney parks, specifically Paris and Tokyo. So I would add that in there too. So anything related to Disney, any kind of Disney destination, we really like to be able to do that at least once a year. I'd really like to visit one country outside of the United States or use our passports to go to some international destination at least once a year. So we like to be making good use of our passports and being global citizens and getting out and about and seeing new places in the world that we haven't been to before and learning about other countries and things like that. So we really like to be able to do that on a regular basis. And then for the purposes of my own mental well-being and also for the health and growth of this channel, we really need to have a minimum of 4 trips a year. And when I say 4 trips, that would probably be of at least 7 days or longer. And that's the minimum. I really need to be traveling at least that much just to have enough content for my channel in making the kinds of videos that I want to make that I think are really useful to people. So just keep all of those things in mind as I talk about what we did in 2024 in this video. And also when you're going back and watching some of our older videos and in the future when I make videos, kind of keep those things in mind. Want to get to the ocean, at least 2 cruises preferably, an international destination hopefully, something Disney every year, and a minimum of 4 trips a year of at least a week or more. So at least 28 days of traveling minimum. Okay, 2024, I am going to say right off the bat, if I was to describe our 2024 travel year, it would be disappointing. We had 4 that I can think of trips planned or even booked that we had to cancel for one reason or another. Let me tell you those first. So the 4 things that I can remember, there might have been more than this, that we had to cancel and did not get to do in 2024 were: Megan and I had wanted to go to the Festival of the Arts at Epcot, something we've always wanted to do and never been to, at the end of January, between the end of her J term and when her spring semester started, and we didn't get to do that. The second thing that we wanted to do was Ben and I were booked and were supposed to take a cruise over his spring break in early March, and we didn't get to do that. And the reason we didn't get to do that was because right at the end of December, when I needed to pay that cruise off, I did not have enough money at that time. We had planned to go to VidCon in Anaheim in June of 2024. Ben especially really wanted to do that. And I think I had hotels booked and everything, and we didn't end up being able to do that. So that was another thing that got canceled. And then in November, Ben and I had booked and had our plane tickets and everything to go to Colorado over his, like right before and the beginning of his Thanksgiving break. And that was specifically to look at a couple of colleges for him. We had college visits booked and everything. There were 2 reasons we didn't go on that trip. We still do have a credit with Delta that we can use. Well, actually, I think we put them toward our tickets that we used to Germany. One was I was really sick. I had been really sick since the end of September. I actually got sick right at the end of our cruise at the end of August and was sick for a little while into September. I got better. Then I got sick again by the end of September with apparently a different virus and was sick for months. Had a terrible, terrible cough for months and months. Finally got, after going to the doctor like 2-3 times, got them to give me an antibiotic when they realized, you know, I'm not improving at all. And then after I had the antibiotic, then I got better pretty rapidly and was completely well. So it frustrates me when they waste your time and not treat you for things right away. But I was not feeling well and my cough was really bad and I was having trouble breathing and stuff. And the doctor did not feel it was a good idea for me to go into those high altitudes on that trip. And then the other reason was we were looking ahead because of something happening with Megan, which I'll talk about in a second. And I just really wanted to reserve the money that we would have spent going to Colorado for going to Germany instead. Okay, so those are the things that we were supposed to do in 2024 and had planned, booked, and did not get to do. So all of that in itself was very disappointing. Now let me go to what we did end up doing. And at the end here with this last trip, I'll tell you something else disappointing that happened. Okay. We didn't go anywhere in December of 2023. The last trip we had taken was to Disney World in November of 2023. So we didn't go anywhere in December. We didn't go anywhere in January. We didn't go anywhere in February. We did not get to take the cruise that Ben and I were supposed to take at his spring break in March. And so we got to the end of March, beginning of April, when Megan's spring break from college was, and we were all pretty darn bummed out that we hadn't gone anywhere for months, and I had no content for my channel and was getting kind of nervous about that. So on a whim, which was kind of a theme for us in 2024, I booked a last-minute trip for the 3 of us to go to Washington, D.C. One of the things that we had on kind of our list of things that we've always wanted to do was to see the cherry blossoms in Washington, D.C. So we took a trip. It wasn't a real long trip, 5-6 days, to Washington, D.C. over Megan's spring break. This did involve Ben having to miss school, which is not great, but they never have the same spring break. It was a good trip. I mean, we had fun. We did get to see the cherry blossoms in full bloom. They actually lasted longer than they thought they would, given the weather forecast and the wind and stuff like that. We had some really good positive experiences in Washington, D.C. We got some beautiful photos, things like that. Saw quite a few museums that we didn't get to see the last time we were there. So it was a good trip. It was booked last minute. For whatever reason, and part of it might have been crowds, we just didn't quite enjoy it as much as the very brief visit we had in Washington, D.C. in 2021, I think it was, which was in summer. Not that it was, you know, there was nothing bad or wrong with the trip or anything, but just somehow, I don't know, we just liked that one in 2021 a little bit better. April, we didn't do anything. May, we took a trip, but it wasn't really something that I documented on this channel. I think I put up 1 or 2 videos because what it was it was us flying to Boston and then going to my son's graduation from law school. So my son, Andrew, graduated from law school in May. We went out to New England to go to his law school commencement. So that's why we were there. It wasn't really any kind of trip for work or for, you know, vacation or anything like that. It was just to go to Andrew's law school graduation. My parents also went. Andrew's dad and his stepmom and his one brother from their family also went. So we were all there, and we were only there for a few days. So it was a very quick there and back. Again, Ben missed school. I think it was just after Megan's final exams. And it was, again, very quick trip out and back just to go to Andrew's law school graduation. My son graduating from law school is very big and exciting. But as far as like a travel experience, this wasn't anything new or exciting. Then June, July, we didn't do anything. August was our, I don't know, these last 2 trips were about the same length. Not sure which well, actually, I think the August trip was, yeah, definitely the most expensive. The August trip was me and all 3 of my kids, and which I've documented on this channel. Those videos actually just kind of finished. We did a trip to Walt Disney World and stayed at Pop Century, went to all 4 parks. First time Andrew'd been to Walt Disney World in almost 10 years. And then we went on a cruise on Royal Caribbean's Utopia of the Seas, which is their newest ship as of the time of filming. We had a lot of fun, had a good time, did not love Utopia of the Seas. Really probably one of, if not my lowest experience on Royal Caribbean. It just, yeah, we weren't big fans of that trip. It was definitely not our favorite cruise ship or cruise itinerary or anything. I mean, it was fine, but it, you know, wasn't great. So, and we had a really good time at Walt Disney World. I mean, two things about Walt Disney World. One was it was too short and too rushed and trying to cram too much into too short a time. And the second thing was that it was just so goddamn hot. And I talked about all of that at length in the vlogs and everything in the videos from that series. So go back and check those out if you want to hear more about that. But that was a very good trip. We had a lot of fun. I was very happy to get to go on that vacation with all 3 of my kids, which is something I hadn't gotten to do in a very long time. And it was for my birthday and everything. And so it was a very nice trip. Don't love going to Florida and the Bahamas in August because it's really, really hot. So then September, October, November, we did not go anywhere. And now now we got back last night from when I'm filming this on Christmas Day. We got back last night from Germany. Okay. Again, believe it or not, this was a last minute kind of trip. The reason we went to Germany is because Megan was supposed to do her J-term study abroad in Germany this coming January of 2025. She was all booked. It was all paid for, everything. Okay. She was going to her trip meetings at school for it and everything. She was going with the professor that she was taking. She was actually purposely taking a German class. And the semester before, last spring, she took a class in German history. And she was very interested in Germany and everything. And she was taking a German language class this semester with the professor that was going to be leading this J-term study abroad to Germany. They were going to Hamburg. Okay, so she was going to northern Germany, to Hamburg. We had tickets, plane tickets, to go to Hamburg too, Ben and I. First, we were going to go at the end of her J-term study abroad. We were going to get there like the last week that she was going to be in Germany, and then we were all going to fly home together. None of us were real keen on that, and I can't remember. I think the reason I originally booked the tickets that way was because of price. I think it was the cheapest. Once you got into January, the price of flights just dropped dramatically. The price of flights at Christmas time was really prohibitively expensive when I was first looking at it. Megan's professor, when I talked to her when we were at school visiting her college, actually in October for Ben, she and I were talking, and she was not real thrilled at the idea of us coming at that time. She said, couldn't you come before, you know, or after the program's over or something? And that was right when Ben was going to be starting his next quarter of school. He goes to high school on a block schedule, and I wasn't ever really thrilled with that. Megan really actually wanted us to be with her when she went over to Germany, because the students were expected to buy their own plane tickets and make their own travel arrangements. They just had to meet at the hostel where they were going to be staying in Hamburg on a certain date by a certain time. So she really wanted me with her, which I totally understand. I mean, the first time I went abroad at all, the first time I went to Europe, I actually flew over there by myself when I was 16 years old. So, and also when I studied abroad in London, I flew over there by myself. Had to find the place all by myself. I changed the tickets. I was able to change the tickets and actually saved some money. I even tweaked something with Megan's ticket. So we were going to go over Ben's Christmas break, basically over both of their Christmas breaks for several days together. And I got us a nice hotel and everything. I had it all booked, and I was starting to research, you know, attractions and things we could do and all of that. And I was starting to research the public transportation in Hamburg. I spent a lot of time and energy researching Hamburg and trying to get all situated with going there and everything. Okay, and I had the tickets changed. I had the hotel book, all of that. And then Ben and I were going to fly back like 2 days after Megan's program started to get Ben back in time for school after Christmas break. So that's what we had all set to do. Okay, all of that was done. And then Megan went to her second trip meeting at school. She was at college. And she'd gone to the first one. The first one was kind of general. She went to her second trip meeting and casually mentioned to me, she texted me or whatever. And I remember it was the day in November that I went to get my car serviced. And I had walked from my car repair place over to the public library because they're right next to each other, and was at the public library. And she just kind of casually texts me and says, oh, by the way, they switched our hostel in Hamburg. Because they were going to another city too, but they were going to be in Hamburg most of the time. And I said, oh, really? You know, what's the new hostel or whatever? The hostel that they were supposed to stay at was absolutely gorgeous. It was a beautiful hostel. It was right on the river in Hamburg. It had a gorgeous view. Everything about this hostel looked great. And in fact, it's a long story. I'm not going to go into the whole story. But when we were trying to choose a study abroad program, a J-term study abroad for Megan, it was a whole big process. And it's a long story. But one of the things that kind of convinced us to have her go ahead and enroll in this one to Hamburg was the hostel they were going to be staying in. And when I got really deep, I went down a deep research hole to research these hostels. This one was described by some folks on Hostel World as the best hostel they'd ever stayed in. It was really nice. And I was very comfortable and at ease about the idea of her staying there. When she gave me the name of the one that they switched it to, and then I told her about it, and she started looking at the reviews, I have never seen worse, more terrifying reviews of anything, anywhere, ever. Okay? I mean, this was really, really bad. You know how normally you'll see the graph like on TripAdvisor or whatever. Some are excellent and most of them are very good, and then there's a big thing for good, and then maybe there'll be a few not so good and terrible. Okay? This was like even across the board with a big emphasis on terrible. And I'd never even seen a graph like that. And I started doing like real major research because when we tried to bring it up to the school and to the department that organizes the trips and everything, a couple of things happened that really upset us. One was that they did not take our concerns seriously. Secondly, was that they flat out refused to tell me the name of the travel provider, the travel booking agency or the travel agency that the college used to book these trips. I wanted to know, like, what were these people's experience? You know, how much do they know about booking trips? How much do they know about Hamburg? Stuff like that. My kids' high school takes trips all the time, and the first thing that they would always do, this organization that they often go through, it's actually EF Tours, Education First, out of Bloomington, Minnesota. And the first thing they would do was they would tell us all about EF Tours. This is the company that we're going to use to book this trip, and they use it for a ton of stuff at our kids' high school, my kids' high school. This is all the experience they have, and here's the contact at the place that you can call with questions, and all these things to really make parents feel like I can trust this place. They're going to look out for my kid. They have a lot of experience. They know what they're talking about. The fact that the college would flat out refuse to tell me who the company was that books their travel for them was a big red flag to me. That made me very nervous. And the lady at the college just kept insisting to me, well, they've used it before, this hostel that they switched them to. But Megan knew from her professor that the last time they had gone to Hamburg was 6 years ago. That's pre-pandemic. A lot of stuff has and could have changed since then. And the more I researched, the more nervous I got. I mean, first of all, problems just with the area. It was nowhere near where the original hostel was. It was near the train station, which is always a little iffy in big cities, especially in Europe. Big homeless encampments nearby, a lot of drug problems nearby. But it was everything from theft in the rooms, filthy, tons and tons of pictures people had posted. Filth, mold, dirt, stuff broken, stuff doesn't work. None of the outlets in the room worked, so there was no place to charge their phones or plug in their computers. A rat in my room this morning. The elevator doesn't work, all sorts of stuff. And it was just one worse thing after another. It was a nightmare. And then the one that really scared me when we were still, she and I were like, because everything was paid for. She's supposed to go in like 4 weeks. And the one that really got me was we were trying to kind of convince ourselves like, maybe it'll be okay, like it'll be okay. But in truth, inside, I'm saying to myself, there is no way on God's green earth I would ever stay at this place or want my kids staying there. I wouldn't want anybody to be staying there. Okay. And I was fighting so hard to try to reconcile this in my mind. The college thought this was okay. They obviously weren't going to look into it or change it. So we knew we were stuck with it. And we were just trying to decide. And I really didn't have a good feeling about it at all. When I was still trying to really decide, a new review got posted. And I was looking at all sorts of sites and compiling the reviews from multiple sites and everything. And it was a guy who said that all of the computers and phones in the room got stolen. And that he went to the front desk of the hostel and asked them to call the police. And they wouldn't do it. And they said, you have to call the police yourself. And when he called the Hamburg police, and the Hamburg police came to take the report and everything, they told him that the Hamburg police, warn everyone never to stay at that hostel because it's so dangerous and there's so much crime. Okay, that was it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I'm like, nope, you're not going. I'm making a mom decision and pulling you from this program. So in the end, again, math, a lot of complicated stuff. We pulled her from the program. She's not going on her J-term. Kind of disappointed about that because I got to do 2 study abroads. Her brother got to do 2 study abroads, 2 J-term study abroads. Megan also wanted to do 2 J-term study abroads, her junior and senior year, just like her brother Andrew did. And now she's not going to get to. So that's very disappointing. But she did say that because I'm so experienced and do such a good job with travel, the only place that she would want to go as a group thing on a group tour or whatever for the first time is Japan, which there's very specific reasons why. And she is probably going to be going to Japan next January, in January 2026, and that's kind of in the works. And she speaks Japanese too. But she says any place else in the world, she said, Mom, I'd rather just go with you. She has more trust and confidence in me and in my ability to plan us a safe, interesting, educational, fun travel experience than she did with the school and everything. So we pulled her from the program, and long story short, we have to pay back half of the scholarship she got for studying abroad in Germany. So they let her keep half, and then she has to pay back half. So I think it's $1,300. And then she also has a $150 materials fee because now instead of going on a J-term study abroad, she's going to take an art class on campus for J-term instead. And she is excited about that. She stayed on campus the first 2 years for J-term. She likes doing J-term because you only have one class and it's kind of cozy and everything. You'll get to focus on that one thing. And she has gotten a real interest in art and art history. And so she's excited to be able to take this Foundations of Art class because it's a prerequisite for a number of other art classes that she wants to take later. That's what happened with that. Long story there. But she just spent an entire semester and got an A, by the way, studying German. And the semester before, she took a German history class and I think also got an A or maybe a B+. And we didn't want that to go to waste. And Ben and I were also very excited about the fact that we also were supposed to go to Germany, okay? We had our plane tickets. We had the hotel booked, everything. So, professional travel mom, Heather, scrambled, okay? I pulled my head was filled with Hamburg. And I had to completely change gears. I had to cancel all of that. And this is in a matter of like a week or something. And completely re-research and book. We didn't want to go to Hamburg. We wanted to go to quintessential German Christmas market, snowy, beautiful Germany, Christmas time. Now, Ben did have to miss He actually only ended up missing 4 days of school because while we were gone, they had a snow day. Here, bummer, there was no snow in Germany when we were there. We went to Munich instead, and so I had to really scramble to find a new hotel, change our flights, figure out the public transportation system and everything in Munich, get the lay of the land in Munich and everything, plan day trips, stuff like that. So overall, there was a lot of disappointment involved in this whole thing. One was that Megan had thought she was going on a J-term study abroad, and the rug kind of got pulled out from under her. She does have a couple of friends that are still going on that program, and she didn't want to say anything to them ahead of time because she didn't want to freak them out and have them be scared to go. Although part of me also feels like we should be warning them. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. But she wants to talk to them when they get back and find out what that was like. Okay. But now, all of that aside, we just got back last night. We went for 11 days. We flew Minneapolis, Amsterdam, Munich. We stayed at the Marriott Munich, which was a very nice hotel. We went to the Christmas markets. We went to, Schwangau, where the Neuschwanstein Castle is, and we went to the other castle, that name I also can't pronounce. We were going to go to Salzburg or Innsbruck or the mountain place. I can't think of the name of it right now. We were going to do another day trip, but money was getting low, and also the kids didn't want to do another big long day on the trains on the Deutschbahn. And so you'll see it all. All the vlogs are coming. Stay tuned. We had a good trip. It was an overall good experience. It was really more of an experience, though. I wouldn't call it fun. I mean, we did have some fun moments. We learned a lot, and we got to experience Germany. We got to make use of the language skills that we had picked up. We had all been studying German and everything. Although Megan will admit that my German was still better than hers, and even after she took an entire semester of German. So I've known German longer, and I'm very good at languages. I pick up languages really well. So if it came down to like having to exchange whole sentences with people in little conversations, it was me who was doing the talking. Megan was really good at pronunciation. Like, she was kind of shadowing me in the background and reminding me of correct pronunciation of things. But so we had a good experience. We got to go to the Christmas markets. We got to see castles. We got to see the palace. We got to see lots of art and history and beautiful churches and all of that. We didn't have a great experience in some regards, though, too. And you're going to see that in all the videos that are coming up. So in the end, it was good because it definitely confirmed for Megan that she would have been miserable on that J-term study abroad experience. She's very glad that she went with me and her brother so that she could have the experience of going to Germany. We're all pretty much of the mind that we don't really care too much if we go back to Germany. I mean, there's other things in Germany I would maybe like to see sometime, but it's not going to be a high priority for me. For some of the reasons that we're going to talk about in some of the other videos that will be coming. But, I mean, it was a good experience, and we're glad we had the experience, and I'm glad she didn't put those German classes that she took, that those didn't get wasted. That she got to apply that learning in the country, in Germany. We also got a little taste of the Netherlands going through Amsterdam and everything and meeting some Dutch people. That definitely has our interest very piqued in spending more time in the Netherlands. So that's high on our list to go back to. We're glad that we had the experience. We're glad we got to go. Getting to go to the German Christmas markets at Christmas time was another thing on our list of things you always want to do, just like the cherry blossoms in Washington, D.C. And so we're glad we got to do that. We had some fun moments throughout. We had, some good things too. But we definitely learned quite a bit about Germany that we also didn't like. And we definitely ruled that out as far as like, would we ever want to live in Germany? I don't think so. So overall, 2024, had some good stuff. We did take 4 trips technically, although one doesn't really count. We only got to do 1 cruise, and it was only a 4-day, but we did get to the ocean just that one time. Didn't see much of it. We did leave the country a couple times. We got to go to the Bahamas. We got to go to the Netherlands. We got to go to Germany. So that was true. Did we spend 28 days, at least 28 days traveling? 11, probably another 12. 11, 22. Yeah, we probably did. I felt like I had plenty of content for the channel, I think. And we did go to Disney. Yep, we did go to Disney World in August. So we did accomplish all the things that I say I want to do every year. Maybe not to the extent that I would like. Okay, but that's what we did in 2024. In past years, I've talked about like my favorites. And I'm not really going to do that this year other than to tell you about my favorite hotel of the year. Okay, now one of the reasons I can't really go through hotels this time is because almost every hotel we stayed at in 2024, we had stayed at before. If I stayed in a new hotel, there's going to be a video about it on the channel if there hasn't been already. And honestly, I can only think of 2 before we went to Germany. Yeah, so in the first 11 months of 2024, I think I only stayed at 2 new hotels that I had never stayed at before. The one in Washington, D.C., and one that I stayed at a weekend in Minnesota when I went up to visit Megan in October. That's it. Every other hotel we stayed at in 2024 was a repeat. But I'm going to tell you my favorite hotel of 2024, and it's the last one I stayed in. It was the Hilton at the Munich airport. Oh my gosh. Wait for the tour. It's going to be coming. It'll be a while because it's going to be at the end of all the vlogs. But that hotel was gorgeous. I absolutely loved that hotel. It was beautiful. And the rooms were just, they were so neat. I love that hotel. And those rooms did everything right. Everything that I always complain about with hotels, they did right. Enough seating for everybody that could sleep in the beds to be able to sit. A table and to work at. Tons of plugs everywhere. Places to set all your luggage. Everything that is right about a hotel room, that hotel was doing right. That hotel was just stunning. I loved it. I would go back to Germany and go back to Munich and just fly through the Munich airport just so I could stay at that hotel. It was really nice. It had a full spa. It was great. So that was my favorite hotel of 2024. Okay, lastly, let me talk to you just a little bit about what we've got coming up in 2025. Okay, again, already had to cancel some stuff. I had 2 princess cruises booked in 2025. Now, I didn't really cancel them, not because I didn't want to do the princess cruises. That's not why. I liked both of the princess cruises I had booked in 2025. We're very anxious to try Princess. We haven't been on Princess yet. We do have a princess cruise booked as our graduation cruise. Both Megan will be graduating from college and Ben will be graduating from high school in 2026. And we have a big special princess cruise booked for their graduation cruise in 2026, which I'm going to work very hard on making sure it gets paid off in time. I had cruises booked on Princess for Megan's spring break at the end of March, beginning of April on Discovery Princess, a California coastal. We were really disappointed to cancel that one, but the main reason we canceled that one was it wasn't that we didn't want to do, we were very excited about it. It was because Ben would have to miss an entire week of school. And the timing of what he would be missing, we just decided was not a good time for him to miss. And we didn't want to leave him home by himself for an entire week. And also last year and the year before, actually, when Megan didn't get to come home for spring break, she's pretty fried and tired at that point in the semester in the spring. So we decided she's just going to come home. The other one was, it was not over my birthday, but around my birthday time, was an Eastern Canada cruise out of Boston in August of 2025 on Majestic Princess. I canceled that one too. The reason I canceled that one mainly was to get a little bit of money back from the money I had paid toward it that I needed for Germany. But also because after taking Utopia of the Seas in 2024, we're just itching to go back on a Disney cruise. We really want to get back on Disney. We're very frustrated that we have not been on Fantasy or Dream yet, Disney cruise ships. And they're coming out with new ships here, Disney is, so quick. We can't keep up. We want to get a cruise on the Dream and a cruise on the Fantasy done in 2025 so that we can then get on the Treasure and the Destiny and whatever comes after that, the Adventure and Singapore. I don't think that's very realistic for us, but we want to get on those ships as soon as possible when they're still pretty new. So I don't like to go on ships, especially Disney ships, like in the first year, because they're very expensive when they're brand new. We want to get on in the first few years. And so we want to get Dream and Fantasy because we've never been on those. And now I'm getting a little nervous. I really hope that Disney doesn't get rid of its older ships because I love those ships. I love the wonder. I love the magic. I'm sure we'll love Disney Dream and Disney Fantasy. So really wanted to just steer back toward the Disney ships for 2025 and try to get those checked off. And if we only get to do two, I'd rather 2 cruises in 2025. I would like one to be on the Dream and one to be on the Fantasy. So that's what I'm looking at. So that's kind of why I canceled those Princess cruises too. I do have tickets to the Wiz in Boston that were right before that cruise that we were going to take in August. I'm guessing we'll probably still go to Boston, assuming my son is still living out there. If we don't, it's not the end of the world. My son said he would happily take the tickets if I don't end up going. I could also resell them on Ticketmaster, so that's not a big deal. But that's just kind of out there, maybe Boston or something out east in August. Megan and I are going on Disney Dream for her birthday. For her 21st birthday at the end of May. That one is booked. Then I'm looking at options for getting me and Ben or all 3 of us on the Fantasy some other time in the year. And I would like to do a cruise or some kind of trip with Ben at his spring break in March since we didn't get to do anything last year. Also on the maybe wish list for 2025 is to get to VidCon and go back to Disneyland because we didn't get to do that in 2024 like we wanted to. And then Colorado was kind of on there too because of the things that we had to cancel in 2024. So very little is booked in 2025. I don't have any more plane tickets booked right now, but I've got lots of credit with Delta because of stuff we had to cancel. I have just the 1 cruise booked as of this moment. So we're very up in the air for 2025. But I did want to say one other thing about our plans for 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. Our family personally is very unhappy with the results of the latest U.S. presidential election. That is not what we had hoped for, and we are very uncomfortable with what's happening in the United States. And we have very strongly considered leaving the United States and moving to another country. We think there's a lot of problems with the United States and the way that things are here, and we don't always feel comfortable here. At the very least, we would prefer to live in a state that matches our values. My son is in a state, Andrew is in a state that's suitable. Megan is actually in a state that's okay. Ben and I are not. So we would like to move, whether that be just to a different state, a different part of the country, or to a country other than the United States in the near future. We're not sure. Ben is exploring his options for college, and some of those that he's considering are in countries other than the United States. Going forward, or at least for the next 4 years, it is our intention to not be in the country as often as possible. So we would like to not be in the United States as much as we can be for the next 4 years. So our travel plans are going to center around that goal. And also, if we have domestic travel plans, they're going to be focused on only the states that we feel comfortable being in. So you can kind of read between the lines in there what we mean by that. There's certain destinations that we feel more comfortable visiting than others, both in the United States and outside of it. And so that's kind of what we're kind of looking at for the future of our travels, at least for the next few years. So that's kind of what you can look forward to. I mean, we're already thinking about, this was a much easier travel experience for us flying over to Germany and than it was when we flew to Paris and everything a couple years ago. And now that we've seen like how simple and basic and easy this can be and how it's really not that hard, we're thinking, yeah, we really ought to do this more often. So that's something that we're really going to be kind of focused on going forward in 2025 and for the next few years, if we don't relocate altogether. So stay tuned for that. That's kind of what we are thinking about and contemplating going forward. So I hope that you enjoyed this video looking back on our travels in 2024 and looking ahead to 2025. What did you do in 2024? And what kind of trips are you looking forward to in 2025? I'd like to hear about those in the comments below. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you all had a happy holiday season. Safe travels.